Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So I thought we'd do a weekend recap of some of the talking points, and we will start off with the Frankie decision, the decision by John Gosden and Frankie Dettori to take a sabbatical, not work together for the time being. Has Frankie Dettori been dropped because he's lost his ability as a jockey? Not really. He's made a few errors in his rides on high-profile rides, Stradivarius being one of them. But I wonder whether it's more over his complacency or being overconfident and not actually taking the blame for the ride. It was the ride that cost Stradivarius at Royal Ascot, not the horse. And yet he hasn't come out and said, I got it completely wrong. And I think that's what John Gosden was waiting for. He didn't get it. Frankie didn't take the blame, basically. And that's why they've decided to have a little break from each other. Frankie, he's going to go and get rides elsewhere. He is still a world-class jockey. Not denying that at all. I think it's all about the owning up to your mistakes, and he's probably not done that, and that's what has annoyed John Gosden more than the actual rides themselves. Obviously, they were important rides as well, and he got them wrong on the big day. So, he's more than entitled to go and look for another jockey to ride some of his horses. I think everyone jumping on you can't do that to Frankie, it's Frankie. He's just a jockey, he's not God. He's just a jockey, and no jockey should be given every ride just because of who they are. And to be honest, I don't even totally understand the point of retained riders. Because you get jockeys that have a terrible record at Goodwood or a terrible record at Ascot because they just can't seem to get the fractions right. And yet they continually get rides for that high-profile jockey or trainer, a trainer or owner at that course, and yet you're actually giving yourself less of a chance by booking that jockey. Book a jockey who's really good at that course. It's like playing a football match and they've got a load of small defenders. You want a big guy up top then, don't you? Playing up front because he's going to be able to beat them. Whereas against bigger defenders, he might not be as good, and that might not be the right way to go. He might not be the better striker, but against the little people, he's going to be better than the little person against the little people. So, yeah, I don't totally understand the retained riders thing. I think that's... You're not in... You're reducing your chances of winning races at certain courses or distances or even certain types of horses. You may get a jockey that's brilliant on those that quicken really well, and yet he's never getting rides because another jockey who's generally perceived as being a better jockey is riding all of those horses as well. So I don't totally understand retained riders, and I think the Frankie issue, hopefully we'll move on from it now, and whoever gets the rides for John Gosden gets the rides for John Gosden. Second talking point came with Trueshan. Now, there was a lot of talk after he won the Northumberland Plate. It was an amazing performance. It was a good performance. It, for me, wasn't amazing. Why wasn't it amazing? So, one, it was a handicap. The reason he was given away that amount of weight is he was rated that much higher. That's what a handicap is. The handicap idea is that you all cross the line at the same time because they've all been given weights based on their official marks and how good they're meant to be. So Trueshan was the best horse in the race. That's why he was carrying all that weight. He was also an in-form group horse. You get horses that try these handicaps, having been running in Group 1s and they've just started to come back down the weights. They're not as good. Trueshan has been going up. He's still going up in the weights. So the 120 that he actually received, I think it was 2 runs ago, they just didn't really know because he'd just been beating the same type of horses. So they left him on 120. If they'd put him on 124 after winning last time out, nobody would have butted an eyelid. They'd have said, okay, he's 124 now. He's still winning, he's still beating his horses, he's beating them comfortably. The fact that he's an in-form, I think 2 runs ago, he won a Group 1. Or 3 runs ago, he won a Group 1. It's not like he'd been running in group races, disappointing, coming down the weights, or failing to make the grade in Group 1 company and then going into handicaps. So for me, whilst it was a good performance, it wasn't amazing. He's just won a handicap where he's obviously not quite reached his handicap limit yet. you know, he's going to be a 122, 124 horse. And if we look at the horse like in second, Spirit Mixer got beat previously at Chester, finished 4th. Spirit Mixer hadn't come into the race off the back of, 6 wins on the bounce, winning each one by 20 lengths. He'd been beaten. Valley Forge had been beaten just 2 runs ago, the horse who ended up going off second favourite. Again, he hadn't been, flying up the handicap. He'd won 1 race in his last 5 to suggest that, okay, maybe there is more to come still. Are any of these going to end up in group races? I don't think so. Valley Forge might end up as like a listed Group 3 maybe. Spirit Mixer similarly. They're not going to end up in Group 1s, and that's why Trueshan has beaten them, and that's why Trueshan has beaten them in a handicap, because he is a Group 1 horse. Similar-ish story with Tuesday and Westover. Was this, for me, a super impressive performance from Westover? No, I think it was a good performance, don't get me wrong. It was a good performance, it was a Group 1 performance. The horse in second, I don't think is a Group 1 horse. The only horse I think is a Group 1 horse is Tuesday, and she got a terrible ride. Ryan got it completely wrong. Got her too far back, never got into the race. You can see she only ever shortened to 2.42 in run from 2.58. She was never involved. The others weren't good enough, so Westover was entitled to win by that far, and that comfortably. In terms of going forward, yeah, Westover's going to be running in Group 1s and can certainly win another Group 1. But would I say that was a vintage Irish Derby? No. The most impressive performance for me over the weekend came from Sense of Duty in the Group 3. Why? Well, she was very good. And I think all the other horses got their runs. They got their clear runs. They got their tactics to run out. And yet Sense of Duty still won comfortably and put them away. She did look a little bit outpaced early on. Say 4.5 furlongs. Tom had to start to get to work. But once he got to work, she really picked up strongly and ran away from them. She's clearly a Group 1 horse running in Group 3 here. And yet, for me, that was the most impressive performance of the weekend, Sense of Duty, purely because of how the rest of the race unfolded. As I said, Trueshan hasn't beaten anything, really, in terms of, in a handicap, he's just beaten handicappers, that he's won off his mark. Well, if any horse had won that race, technically they would have won off that mark that they'd been given. Westover can't get it for me because Tuesday didn't get a run, didn't get the best of rides, so it was a bit of a nothing race. Whereas I think everything in this race got their run, and that's why I thought Sense of Duty was the most impressive winner of the weekend. A few horses you definitely want to add to your notebooks. A couple of winners in here, which is unlike me. I don't normally like to put winners in as horses to keep your eye on. The first one is Fairy Cross. I thought she was very impressive at Newmarket. Again, she was expected to be. She's certainly improved for her debut effort when she was only 5th. In that race when she was 5th, I always like to look at who had previously won the race. And she came into a race that had previously been won by Cachet. Obviously, Cachet's gone on to win a 1,000 guineas. And then this race at Newmarket, the previous winner was Inspiral. So she's been entered in 2 maiden races that have been won by future Group 1 horses. And I think they know that. I think they believe that Fairy Cross is a Group 1 horse in the making. She went off 3-1 when she was only 5th to Morge, her another horse owned by Godolphin. Morge ran okay, finished 2nd at Royal Ascot, and the form has worked out quite well. And I think Fairy Cross, they expected more that day. They got more on Saturday, and I think she's definitely one that will progress further next time. I want to talk about the run of Rumbles of Thunder. I thought she got a terrible ride. I really did. I thought she was travelling so well in behind a few of them at the front, and Visualisation particularly. Billy Lee went to go down the inside. There was a gap, but he didn't really go for it. And then when the gap kind of half closed, he gave up. Gave up, didn't get after her at all. Was very gentle on Rumbles of Thunder. I'm saying her, I think it might be a he. No, it is a her, sorry. Yeah, he gave up on her, very easy. She finished third. Would she have beaten Ical with a clear run? I think she would have with a clear run. I think she'd have got away at a crucial time and not had her momentum checked at when she was travelling so well. And yeah, I think she's better than what she showed here. So don't give up on Rumbles of Thunder if you did back Rumbles of Thunder on Saturday. And finally, looking at Sunday, Statuette, she's going to obviously improve. Again, stepping up in trip. The 6 looked just about far enough, short enough for her. Just about short enough, yeah. She wants further than that. She didn't make hard work of it, but certainly had to be ridden along by Ryan to get going. But she was strongest in the finish. Go up to 7 next time, and I think she'll be... I can see her being one for the Fillies Mile at the end of the year. The Group 1 at the end of the season. So there's some thoughts from the weekend. A couple of horses, why I think you should add them to your notebook, and also why I believe Sense of Duty was the most impressive performance, and why I can't give it to Trueshan, why I couldn't give it to Westover.